know, if freezing doesn't work, you know, that it's still there, the next thing they go through is what I call fake it. And that's when they start talking smack, start looking bigger, trying to puff themselves up. And they're trying to actually make themselves feel like they're bigger than what the source of fear might be. And we see that in all kinds of sport. All the smack talking you see on the floor, you know, and around the area and stuff like, you know. In other words, you're trying to, like you'd mentioned earlier, you know, but the one coach you talked about where you have to be really overconfident, you know, and you really have to kind of show that, you know. That really is the second phase, you know, of this fear response. You have to pretend like you're bigger than what you think the predator or the fear source might be. But let's say that doesn't work, you know, and we'll see this again in animal studies. If we take a look at, for an example, primates, you know, if we have a bunch of monkeys, let's say in a captive area, you know, there will be one alpha male there, but there'll be a lot of other males there as well, you know, and if you're one of the other male monkeys, not the alpha monkey, you might try to fake it one time with that alpha monkey, and then he just kind of does a job on you. You know, it's bigger than you. And so, you know, trying to fake your way didn't work. And so then what happens, if you can't fake your way, you'll see people kind of give up and give in to it. And we'll see that in the primate studies. We see that in athletics. In other words, oh man, I'm swimming and I got a really crappy lane and all these guys and gals or whatever, and you know, they're much faster than me. It's like you just sort of like give up. They give up on it because the fear was bigger than them. Mm-hmm. They couldn't fake it. It's bigger than them. And then what happens? Let's say that, you know, kind of giving up doesn't work. You know, giving up doesn't work. And so that's when literally the fight comes.
Yeah.
You know, you've run out of all your ways to kind of dissipate this fear that you saw, and now it's time. It's like, man, I got the only way I can survive is to fight at this point in time. And the problem with that is, let's say if we got a swimmer, when they get into that stuff, they'll jump in it and they'll kick and they'll swim like crazy, but they'll be spinning in the water and they won't be biomechanically sound. You know, they are literally just swimming for their life, and they're not going anywhere. Because the fight they're putting up, you know, is based upon fear. It's not biomechanically sound. They're just swinging, basically, and not throwing good punches, you know, for an example.
Well, and I can identify with that on the ball field. You see it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it yesterday. It was a playoff game, and a other team had a fantastic freshman athlete, but we had seen her before and they knew about it, but the team is relying on her, and you can't rely on a freshman, you know, to carry a team, you know, typically, you know, unless, you know,
usually not.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them out there. And the first 7 minutes of the game was one heck of an athlete. The next 20 minutes started getting into a bit of the puffing and a little bit of, this is women's lacrosse, which has a lot of contact, but, you know, you can't take anybody out with a hit, so there's a different type of flexing that goes on. And then you could just see and say, okay, this is either going to go south for her or it's going to get violent. You know, she doesn't have anything left. The girl, I mean, she was a warrior out there. She gave it all she had, but there was nothing else she could do, and that was, I believe, the fear, and that she didn't need to. I mean, nobody, somewhere she believes that she had to win that game. But you could just see that, and okay, here it comes now. This is where she's going to lash out. You know, there should be a yellow card in the future here, and you can just about see it every time. And it's when she's like, boy, if someone would just coach her, not instruct her. This has nothing to do with the skills of lacrosse. It was, you know, you can't carry for 50 minutes. You know, be one out of the 12 players that carries. I mean, and her team played well. And she, like I said, is an amazing talent. Clearly the most talented player, I think, that was on the field. But there is a fear of not what happens if I don't save the day. that was what was really driving her.
Yeah. Well, and fear comes in a couple of different from a couple of different directions too, Dave. One is kind of emotional fear. In other words, I don't perform well today. That's one set of fears. The other is with some of our sports, there are some physical injuries that can come from that, which is also fear-driven. So, for an example, when I was working with downhill skiers, these guys are going 70, 80, and women are going 70, 80 miles an hour with no brakes on those skis, that if they crash, they're probably going to get hurt. And so they're dealing with two types of fear all at the same time. One is actually fear of physically being hurt, and then fear, of maybe not performing well today. And so it comes in two different, depending on the sport, you get both of those things, or just one of them.
Yeah. And, I think it's nothing to be ashamed of. If you can't recognize it, you can't deal with it. It's not having fears. It's dealing with your fears. It's not ignoring them. It's facing them. And I think we're going to end there and get some of your contact information. And I am so glad we ran long because, like I say, this is some really good stuff. This was beyond the coach quote of the day. This is beyond the slogans, the top 5 things that make higher performing people. This is really getting into us as people, and I think that people like me don't need to have an advanced degree to do better. We just need to have access to people like you, knowing again these about sports, who know about the psychology, and we can learn to guide people towards the better help. And if nothing else, try not to be part of the problem. There's nothing wrong as a coach saying, my job here is to not screw up anything.
That's right.
I mean, some days that's a really good thing with as complex as people are, is I don't know what's going on with this kid. I'm going to not make it worse. And if I can find a way to direct him, but we try and, we coaches think we have to solve this. And we aren't. My wife has reminded me as a licensed therapist in other ways with kids. She's like, you two, pointing to me, and a coach said, are not qualified to handle this issue. And she was absolutely right. It was an 8, 9, 10-year-old girl who decided she didn't want to talk to us, and we said, we'd let the power of sport heal her, and she just said, you two are not qualified. Do what you can.
She sounds smart.
She is. Yes, she is. But I'll end on that with that.
Well, Dave, I would say, Dave, I think because you and I have talked. You've got a copy of the sport menu, and you've seen it. And I would really encourage if you have any listeners that would really like to, really take a look at this and just see the different topical areas that we've got listed there. For appetizers and entrees and desserts and stuff like that. Definitely, send me an email or something like that, and I would shoot a copy of that back out to them, within 24 hours, and then if they see areas on this menu that are interesting to them or they like more information about, I've got stacks of more documents and handouts that go with every one of these topics that I'd also be willing to send out and share with those people as well.
Absolutely, I definitely will. And like I say, I don't do it often, but when something is really going well, we just keep the mic open because this is the good stuff, if you will. This is the stuff we need to get into. This is where the power of sport is, and it's the power of people. This is, I don't want to get too corny here, but this is what makes for better students, for better people in the workplace, for better parents. When you have these skills, and that's really what we're doing with these 10 to 22-year-olds when we have them compete. It's not the medals, it's not the scoreboard. It's really this ability to live a really great life afterwards. So
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so Jim,
I totally agree with that.
Everyone, again, I'll post again Dr. Jim Bauman's information, but you can get him at number 434-987-2918. That really is his number, and he's really going to pick up. And his email is Dr. Jim Bauman, DrJimbauman MAN@gmail. So, again, Jim, so glad it took, a few months for this to come together, because it sure was a heck of a show. I really appreciate it.
Well, it was fun. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you, and we'll do it again sometime, Dave.
Excellent. Take care, Jim. And everybody, thanks again. We'll talk to you next week.
I'm learning to fly, but I ain't got wings. Coming down is the hardest thing. So I've started out for God knows where. I guess I'll know when I get there.